Hey you, welcome back to the Game Room. Let's get down to business. In looking over ideas for this episode, I could not believe it's already been 2 years since our last Milestone Games video. So to help bring that back into the rotation, today we're going to focus on games who hit a physical milestone in the PlayStation library. The first game on our list is no stranger to Game-Rave TV or these featured lists with Metal Gear Solid, specifically the Metal Gear Solid 3-pack. As previously discussed on the 5 Most Interesting Variants episode, the 3-pack was a PlayStation 2 release that included Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, and 3. What made the pack interesting is that the original Metal Gear wasn't converted over to PlayStation 2's DVD media nor security coded to it. It was still an original PlayStation 1 media disc set. 12 years later after its 2008 release, and it is still the only console release printed on the previous generation's media and published in the next generation's packing. More interesting is that it throws off PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 collectors together. If you're going for a full PlayStation 1 variant set, and I don't recommend it, you'll end up with 2 PS2 games. If you're simply going for a full PlayStation 2 set, you're stuck with a single PlayStation 1 game. And that kind of chaos is why it grants it the first spot in this place on the Milestone legacy. Next on our list is another 2-disc set, but it's actually one game, twice. Working Design's release of Raystorm to the American PlayStation actually set 3 milestones in one go. It was the first PlayStation game to be published by Working Designs, it was the first game to fall under their newly created Spaz label, and more importantly, was the first PlayStation game to intentionally have a variant on the disc art at launch. Having already gained a name for themselves with disc art variants on the Sega CD and Saturn, Working Design's Raystorm comes with 2 different disc arts, one for each player's ship. To put how crazy variant collecting can be and in perspective, the rarity of each disc has constantly fluctuated over the years. Originally, the red ship disc art was the harder one to find, but in the past few years they've actually balanced out and in some cases shifted to the other color. Either way, play it. It's a great game, no matter which disc you get. To follow up on the theme, Nova Storm is next on the list because it hit the milestone for the first ever 2-disc game on the PlayStation. Released on November 2nd, 1995, the full-motion video-based game was previously released on the FM Towns Marty as Scavenger 4. The need for 2 discs was due to the PlayStation version using full-screen, full-motion video. Speaking of full-motion video, it's also the reason for our next milestone game, Dee. Dee gets the nod thanks to it being the first 3 CD-based game for the PlayStation, for almost the same reason as Nova Storm. While not full-screen video, Dee more than makes up for it due to the amount of footage needed. In Nova Storm, the video is just a looping background visual. Here in Acclaim's horror game, it's actually controllable. As you move around the mansion, the video footage acts as your point of view and visual tracker. Funny enough, the Saturn and 3DO versions are only 2 discs, which makes one wonder just how many CDs the PlayStation version could have been had it been used in full screen mode. If you're picking up on the theme, then you'll know Wing Commander 3 is the next celebrated game this episode, with being the first 4-disc game set. Where Dee and Nova Storm were sucking up plastic for their computer-generated video, Wing Commander 3 was hoarding it all for the actual film quality footage of Mark Hamill running around as Colonel Blair. The 2 hours of film footage, combined with the actual regular game's development, ended up costing Origin $4 million in development costs, and this was in 1995. Absolutely unheard of at the time. As the years went on and video games got more involved with both their content and video footage, the 3 and 4-disc game sets would become the norm, especially in the Japanese role-playing game department. However, there was one Western game that would snag and keep the crown for the most CDs needed for a console game, and that is Riven. Released in the final days of 1997 as the sequel to Myst, Riven spans a whopping 5 CDs, a mammoth to behold and even more fun to enjoy. Changing discs is a lost art in the modern era of gaming, as high-capacity media and digital downloads rob us of that once exciting moment felt when you got to progress to the next disc. Unless you were playing Mass Effect 2 on 360 out of order, because then you were swapping discs every 5 minutes. But I'm not bitter. Of course, with Riven having taken the milestone for the 5-disc set, I know a few of you watching just went, but what about? And that's where we come to the final milestone of the episode, Ark the Lad Collection. With Riven containing a single game across 5 CDs, Ark the Lad Collection achieves the collected milestone at a whopping 6, containing Ark the Lad 1, 2, 3, Monster Tournament and the Making of disc. What's impressive about this set is that it's not just a compilation of games. Like the already mentioned modern-day Mass Effect trilogy, you can load the previous game's save into the next one to unlock content, creating an all-in-one package that will last role-playing game fans a fairly long time. Ironically, it also earns the milestone of being Working Design's final game published on the original PlayStation. Alright guys, that does it for this episode. Do you have a favorite multi-disc game? If so, what's the game and what system is it on? If it's on multiple systems, which one's your favorite? Comment in the section below and let's get that conversation started. Have a safe week guys, wash your hands, wear your masks, and I will see you next episode. Take care.